episode of AK Indie Gaming Show here with Steven Andreu and myself, Michael Kuhlman. Steven, what have you been up
Hello.
to and what games you've been playing?
I have been streaming, I have been recording YouTube videos, and I have been playing way too many games.
Yeah?
Absolutely too many games. We've got Slay the Spire going on. I just started a game called Heaven's Vault that's like an archaeology point and click adventure type thing. I'm playing Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Oh,
That
really?
game
I want to
is
ask you about that.
amazing. That game is amazing. It's super fun, even though it did have me tilting a little bit for the first hour. I was kind of getting sent a little bit because I didn't understand it at all. That game's great. We got Persona 5 like 3 days ago, and I haven't touched it at all. That was like a birthday gift
I hear that's a
for
great
Morgan.
game, too.
It's an amazing game that I never got to play. And
Heard
I
it's
don't know when I'm
long,
gonna
though.
get to play it. It's oh yeah, it's pretty long.
Yeah.
And I played a game this Wednesday called Ita. That's like a boss rush bullet hell type
Okay.
game. Kind of literally like something between Enter the Gungeon or like The Binding of Isaac and like Shadow of the Colossus. It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I think that's it. I've been playing Warframe a little bit, but
Okay.
that doesn't.
Yeah. How's the Final Fantasy VII Remake? Like, did you play the original?
No, I have never played
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII in
Yeah.
my life. I've been so close to buying it on the Humble Store, on the Switch eShop, on sale for $3. Literally the price of like a king-sized Reese's. I can't be afforded to pay $3 for Final Fantasy VII. I will pay $60 for Final Fantasy VII, however,
Yeah.
and it has been pretty entertaining.
How does
so
it
far.
feel? Can I ask you? Does it like feel like a modern game? I don't know anything about the remake.
Oh,
so,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
other than advertisements and shit.
It's way different from the original because there's like an entire real-time action aspect. But I thought the real-time action was going to turn it into like Devil May Cry. And that's why I was getting like completely destroyed for hours. I was just like, this game is unbelievably fucking difficult, and I do not understand why. And it's because you basically use the real-time action segments to build up a meter that lets you go into a turn-based system to then choose action.
Okay.
So you're using
sounds
like
way
basic
different.
attacks. So like imagine in like a turn-based RPG, you have like attack, just regular attack, and then a whole list of abilities and spells and items. That basic attack is just your like in-game live action or real-time action attack system. And then when you gain a meter from doing that attack, you can then go into your menu, and it slows time down like basically to a pause. And you can then choose like, do I want to use a special move? Do I want to use an item? Do I want to use a spell? And you
So
can
they
command
reworked, like,
everyone on your
everything.
party like that. Oh, it's a completely different game.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
the remake, this game that just came out is like the first like third of Final Fantasy VII story
Really?
that's been blown out into like a 40-hour experience. Yeah.
Wait,
so
wait,
like this
so-
is like part 1 of like 2 or 3 different games that will be all of Final Fantasy VII.
But Final Fantasy VII, the original game when it came out on PlayStation, right? It came out on PlayStation first.
Yeah, PlayStation 1.
So that entire game has not been remade fully in the new game.
No. Only the first third, maybe.
And they blew that. They expanded that. What did they add? Like, because I thought it was a remake. It sounds like a totally new game that's like
It is
inspired by.
Yeah, hilariously, of all the games to use the word remake, it is almost a complete reimagination of
Yeah.
the
It's
original.
like a reboot almost. It's like
Yeah, and not having played the original, I don't know all the story beats necessarily. So I know people say like there are things in the story that are different to compensate for how much of the game they've had to sort of expand out. But it is like a really well done game. It's actually really surprising.
I will end up buying it. It's not for PC yet though, right?
No.
It's for PS4. Is that what you're playing on?
PS4 only right now. I would imagine it's going to hit other consoles at some point, but I don't know because it's Final Fantasy 7 and they love their like weird exclusivity sometimes.
Yeah.
But I mean, Final Fantasy 7 now is on everything. In 20 years, you'll get.
Final Fantasy X was probably like my favorite video game of all time, and
That
I
was
never
the first
played.
one I played.
Really?
That was the
10?
first one I played. Yeah. Hmm.
Oh, it's an amazing game.
It's
It's
so
awesome.
good. So fucking good.
Yeah, I beat that. And I was just like, I just had so much fun with it. So my friend and I, growing up, we used to like during the summer when we had off. I used to go to tennis camp, and I would go from noon to 4 p.m. And I was dog tired. I was just so tired. I just wanted to sit down the rest of the day. And I would come over to his house, and we'd sit there from like 4:30 till 3 in the morning, and just okay. It was in his room. He had a TV, and I had a TV, and we both sat next to each other and played the same game, and we would wait for each other to catch up. We had different styles of playing, like so we had the sphere grid was everywhere, and different characters were doing different things, and we both like beat the game alongside each other. And then like every cutscene, we'd like wait and click X at the same time. We'd turn off my screen, and his TV had a better like sound, and this is like Discord before Discord, man. We're all just hanging out.
That's definitely that's next level. I didn't have friends to play video games with.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I didn't even have like a home console till the GameCube. My parents were very concerned that if I had a video game console,
You'll turn out like you do
I
now.
wouldn't go outside. Yeah, literally. I always say like they were scared that I would never go outside ever again, and it turns out they're completely right. It's done. Like it's just video games all the time now. But my stepbrother had a PlayStation 2, and so when we'd visit, or eventually we moved in together, um, I would get to play some games on his PlayStation. He had GTA, and he had Final Fantasy X, and Metal Gear Solid 3, all sorts of fucking great shit. And man, playing Snake Eater and San Andreas and Final Fantasy X, my god, such great games. And all I had for GameCube was like the Wind Waker and Melee and so Mario Sunshine, which is obviously those are great.
The best.
And then I had like Shrek 2.
Yeah.
And then
Luigi's Mansion,
Family Guy
Luigi's
game or
Mansion?
whatever. Yeah. I was like, what game is that? Luigi's Mansion? I've never heard of that. Must be something underground. Yeah, yes, I played Luigi. I never owned Luigi's Mansion. I rented that from Best Buy.
If you go back, it sucks compared to what GameCube games became. Like look at Wind Waker and how polished and good the mechanics of that game, and then Luigi's Mansion is like so simplistic. Like you can't jump, you're walking around the entire game, and it's just whereas like Super Mario Sunshine was awesome.
An interesting game. Oh, Mario Sunshine.
Oh yeah.
Except then we got an even better Mario game in the next gen, and then an even better one after that.
I stopped at Sunshine. I never played Galaxy. I never played Odyssey. Although I watched speedruns of them. The best is that you and me at like 27 can reminisce on all these games, and we're just like, it's all nostalgia just watching the speedruns of all these people like killing these games in 30 minutes or an hour or whatever, and it's like it's just so awesome to see. Yeah, super entertaining. So let's see, what have I been playing this week? The number one game is, I took your suggestion from last week. I went out and bought Celeste, and I beat it in 3 days. It was amazing. It was hard. It was really tough.
Yep.
I had to get up and walk away. I got out of the room. I was like, this game's too hard. I don't know if I can do it. And then I would sit back down. Game. Yeah. And I would sit back down, and I always felt like I had progress. Like, but I'll talk more about that later. That's actually like our game of the week. We thought it would be a good idea to talk about one game at least for a week for this episode. But so I got Celeste, and I've been playing StarCraft 2 because it's just fun.
You're playing StarCraft 2.
Yeah. You see me on Discord.
Discord tells all, dude. It tells all.
There's just no privacy anymore.
Not even a little bit.
Not that I'm hiding it, but
sometimes you just want to play soccer, beach party volleyball, and everyone has to fucking know.
Yeah. Like who do you think buys the hentai games on Steam?
I probably work with people that buy them.
You said you work with people that buy them?
Yeah. For sure, I work with people that buy the hentai, beach party, volleyball / dragon waifu maid cafe simulator, otaku-san no deathu. Yeah. I don't.
Maybe one day I'll waste my money on that.
The Humble Store had a sale for some game franchise. I don't remember the exact name of it, but every single game on that bundle was banned on. or it's not on Steam. Sorry, on Twitch. They were all
Twitch,
banned
yeah.
on Twitch, and I'm like, that is not a good sign. If every game here is not allowed on Twitch, dude,
That's
that
probably
means
like
there's
an advertisement.
some.
They could probably make money from like, hey, not allowed on Twitch. Buy this, and it's like, ooh, okay.
True.
Yeah.
True. If that's what you're in the market for.
I bought the Stay Inside bundle, which came with Celeste. It cost like $70, and I'm not sure it was worth it, but it came with Celeste, Subnautica, Dead Cells, and The Escapist 2. And I played.
Yeah, The Escapist is the only one I'm not familiar with.
The Escapist 2 is like this sandbox breaking out of prison game. Everyone looks like little Legos, and
yeah,
I played
that one. I'm a little on the fence of too. I'm like, I don't know if that's a great one. I mean, I've never played it, so
it's
you know,
I might give it another
looks can
run.
be deceived.
I played the tutorial, and then I played the first level, and I didn't find it that great. But I'll give it more time. I'll give it more time before I give it a bad recommendation or whatever. Let's see. I installed all 4 games. Obviously, I played Celeste. Like the whole reason was to buy Celeste and play that through.
Right.
Loved Celeste. And then I played Dead Cells. And Dead Cells is like that game? So it's like a roguelike that
Played a lot of Dead Cells.
Oh, really? So
Mhm.
I'm going to ask you, like, I guess right now, like, should I keep playing it? Because I kind of get it. Like, yeah? It's fun?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's.
I played 10 hours.
I always enjoyed playing Dead Cells. That's a lot. That's a decent amount of time.
Yeah.
I always enjoyed playing Dead Cells. I mean, it's just.
I don't know if I've done 10
I always.
hours.
I like the combat. I like the. I like the speed. The motion of the game is really good. It's super fluid.
Yeah.
Jumping, rolling.
And I played on controller.
Going through. Yeah. I played on controller. And yeah, and just getting, going further and further and getting new items and new spells and new abilities and access to different areas of the map and stuff. I mean, obviously, if it's not for you,
So I went from
I don't want.
I went from playing Sekiro to Celeste, loving both of those, then into Dead Cells. And Dead Cells is almost like, well, I should probably just stop playing this and go play Sekiro, because it's like if I'm getting this hard as shit game, that I don't know. But
it is another difficult.
Yeah. And then Subnautica, have you ever played that? That's the only one I didn't.
I've never played Subnautica, but I've watched a lot of Subnautica, and that game, I'm pretty sure it's the most expensive one in the bundle, and it definitely, or like if you itemize them, I think Dead Cells is like $15. I think Celeste is like 15 or $20. I think Subnautica is like close to 30-ish. And that one seems really, really interesting. But that you have to be obviously a fan of like base building, survival type games, because you basically just start on like an ocean planet and you build an underwater base over time, and you collect resources and scan, plants and flora and fauna, and you get information. You keep using that kind of stuff to keep build your base out.
Yeah.
There is a story in Subnautica, but yeah, it's that kind of game.
Okay, all right. I definitely am looking forward to that one. And then I played Magic Arena, and I think that's everything. I don't think I played anything else. Yeah, that's what I got.
Pretty good. It's a good lineup. A lot of heavy hitters. Celeste, Dead Cells.
Well, I should be playing Sekiro, but I hit like just a wall that I can't beat the bosses, and I've like done all the grinding.
What boss did you get stuck on in Sekiro?
One of the generals.
I can tell you which boss I stopped on.
All right, you tell me yours, because I can't remember the name of mine.
I stopped on like some great ape.
Oh no, I haven't even gotten
some
there
like
yet.
monkey dude.
Yeah.
There's a boss like halfway into second that when you fight him, you're like, okay, this guy's hard as fuck. He's like actually a giant piece of shit. I hate him. He's whatever. I mean, it's Sekiro, so every boss is gonna be like that.
Yeah.
And eventually, you defeat him, or you get the first health bar, and you're like, okay, I'm good. And then you get the second health bar, and you're like, hell yeah, we've done it. And then he comes back with a third health bar, and you're like, bro, the game's called Shadows Die Twice, bro, not Shadows Die Thrice.
I'd be so mad if that
lied to, and I need to return the game because I've been lied to by the fucking box.
But technically,
and
you
then
can
you
do
remember
that.
that. It's true.
So
True.
We don't like it. What's in that
It
direction?
just sucks. And then you remember that before that fight, they teach you this thing. There's like a scroll on the wall that's like, hey, just in case you're reading this, you deflect lightning by jumping in the air and then pressing like R2. And then you're like, that's weird. Why would I need to know how to deflect lightning? And then you find out why you need to deflect lightning in the third phase of that boss fight. And my god, the fucking the pop off that I did when I finally beat that thing, just getting up, screaming, shouting, throwing my fucking controller, spiking
no,
it,
I
getting
call my
a
mom.
crab tossed at me from the audience.
Yeah, no, I'll call people. And I'll be like, hey, I'm just having a really good day. How's it going? And I don't really tell them. I mean, eventually I get around to it, but I'm like, it's just a video game.
Been there.
Yeah.
I've definitely been there.
Yeah. All right.
And that boss did it for me.
That game?
I beat that boss. I have not.
You haven't beat.
There was just some. There was some point where I was like, I'll get back to it the next day, and then the next day never came.
Dude, I'm there, man. I love the game, but it's just like, what am I supposed to do? Like, there's nothing to buy. I can't like go and grind some area and then like get a better item or something like that. Like,
Sekiro, I know it's the fucking meme with Dark Souls. Sekiro is literally get good the fucking game. There is like no cheating ever. Like, you just have to learn that this game, like, if Dark Souls people make fun of somehow for being like super defensive because you can like hide behind a shield, and then Bloodborne, they're like, oh, it makes you more aggressive because you heal by attacking enemies. Sekiro is like, you need to go in there, fucking the Adderalls in,
you just have to be perfect.
Double Monster energy drinks in, you got the IV drip of just pure adrenaline, and you just have to go eyes dilated out to your fucking brain, and you just have to go ape shit the entire time.
I'm stuck on the Shadow Swordsman. Some guy in like
is that a mini
sewer.
Boss?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm stuck on the mini boss.
I beat that guy. I did. I know I just said you can't cheat, but I definitely cheesed him.
Okay.
There's a cheese for that guy.
All right. I am looking for cheese because this is bullshit.
There's like a single step in that fight where like if you go onto the step, he has a jumping animation, and when he does the jumping animation, you can hit him and then jump off, and then he has an animation to jump off of. And you can basically jump onto it back and forth and just hit him while he's jumping, because he'll always chase you.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
One
you can cheese, it turns out.
I have been super like, when I play games, I want the full experience as much as they can give me. I don't look up spoilers. I don't watch speed runs. I don't want nothing. I don't watch trailers for movies. Like, this is the level we're on.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't even want to look up anything about Sekiro. I just want to beat it. But like, if you hit a wall, I just want to get through it. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see what I do. Maybe I'll give it a try this week. All right, so game of the week,
be like that.
Celeste. So you recommended it to me.
Sure
do
did.
you want to talk about why you love it so much, or should I start?
I want to hear what you have.
So, man, this shows you that one small team. So I have the director's name. I'm gonna give him I'm gonna name him Matt Thorson, the director of Celeste.
Mm-hmm.
Just, the game is not super complicated. It's pretty basic. It doesn't have lots and lots and lots going on, but it's a beautiful game. It's emotive. It brings out, you're sad when you should be sad. You think things are cute when they're cute, almost like the Animal Crossing characters. There's no need for super good cutscenes or voice acting, none of that. It's just people being humans, talking with each other. It's a good setting. It's in a mountain. It's very mindful. Like, it's about our main character. Her name is like Melanie, Madeline. Right, I renamed her. I renamed her my girlfriend, like, because she was right next to me. I was like, "Hey, check out this game," and she thought it was cute. So I called the character Jolie, and it's about this girl who's determined, trying to get up a mountain, and it's just, you don't need to be super fancy. You don't need millions of dollars. You don't need AAA studios. You don't need voice acting. You don't need anything fancy to make such a good game, because at the base fundamental level, it was some guy going, I want pixelated art that looks really good, that's really simplistic, but you could tell it doesn't matter that he has a huge budget. He made it work with what he had. Really good music. Every scene that you go into, it kind of gives you a new music that just totally fits with the first level. I think you're going through the lower part of the mountain, then you jump into a city, and then you're in a hotel, and then you're in the upper part of the mountain, almost like these really old rails, and then you get to the peak. It's a really difficult game, but mechanically it felt so good, like
super tight, super
very
responsive.
tight. Yeah, and really good mini cutscenes that just were people talking that you really feel something for these characters, and they only have a couple lines. I mean, it's maybe a paragraph, and kind of kept modern. It felt like it didn't feel like a timeless story. It felt like a modern story. It felt like it fit with like the character. What's his name? Theo. Theo has a phone. And he's taking selfies, and he's kind of got a beard, and he's from Seattle, and it's like that's a perfect character. He's just so. It's such a typical person from Seattle, from the West Coast. You know, he's wearing plaid and he's just backpacking around. He's kind of aimless and directionless, and he just becomes friends with our main character. And our main character is very shy, and man, I just loved it. I love the grandma laughing with the ha 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 ha. Like,
yeah,
that was great.
It's a good one.
Yeah. So I mean, anything that you picked up?
If you remember last week, I had talked about Celeste, and you said, what makes Celeste so special? And I said, not a lot on the surface. It's mostly just a platformer. But everything else, other than the base mechanic, kind of solidify what makes it so interesting, or so good. And that's why, like, not to say you're wrong, because I've literally said the exact same thing. But, like, when you talk about the game, and you're like, well, it's kind of simple. There's not really anything fancy going. And that's because all the fanciness is in the level design. It's really easy for games to look really fancy or complicated, or like they have a lot going on, if you pile mechanics onto the player, and a ton of mechanics and a ton of things to think about and a ton of things that you have to keep track of. But when the game is just really sharply designed, every level, every single screen is just like this perfect.
And you're not joking when you say every screen it's like that. It's like start to finish,
every single screen.
Yeah.
One of the most important things, obviously this is like a video game fundamental, but it's especially true for a platformer, and even more so true for a platformer like Celeste, like something like Super Meat Boy, or, you know, things like that too, where the level doesn't just have to be designed in a way that's fun, and it doesn't just have to be difficult. It has to convey information to the player fast enough for them to react in real time. So it needs to be challenging, but not so challenging, or not so, I guess what I should say, not so obtuse that, like, the player's looking at the level and they don't even understand the structure of what they need to do.
Yes.
And when you find a screen on Celeste, you can very easily identify the paths you have to take, and then it's a mechanical challenge to actually do them, but it's never a question of, like, well, what does the game even want me to do? And setting up a game where it breaks things down like that, very difficult.
It's even more nuanced than how you're saying it, because it provides the perfect level of, what is it that I'm supposed to do here, with, oh, I get what I'm supposed to do, oh, it's just hard to do it, oh, I'm getting better at it, oh, I did it. It's just all those 5 steps that make a good level are so perfect, and it surprised me, because every single time was like that. It's not like Sekiro that we were just talking about, where you hit these walls, or like multiplayer games where you hit, like, you're trying to be better than people and there's just too many random things going on. Like, this is methodical. It's given to you. It's the perfect, like, PvE, like a player versus environment, like player versus game sense of progression. Like, I was dying early on, and I was like, am I just not very good at this? But no, it's because they're showing you the mechanics, and you get better as the game goes along, and you feel very good with the difficulty of the game as it goes up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Very nuanced, very hard to do.
They're very good at doing the again, another fundamental, but it's about taking those things that are like basic concepts of game design and
Yes.
applying them in a way that really makes them stand out and makes players realize like why they're so important. So like giving players the tools to get better over time and then allowing them to reuse all of that tool set and then keep introducing a new thing and a new thing and a new thing, but it's not about mechanics, it's just about how you use the mechanics in the world around you. So you're using things in specifically to Celeste, like having things that carry your momentum or platforms that move when you grab them, and then chaining that with items that give you your jump back or your dash back, and then chaining that with areas that like propel you through the environment, and then all of them coming together, you have the basic cores of how each one of them works, and they keep stacking them onto you. And because you retain that information so well, especially because the game is so difficult, like
Yes.
it allows you to just do strings of super difficult platforming that are just like unbelievably rewarding when like you're saying a couple hours ago you could never imagine doing something like that.
Yeah.
And they just keep building up and up and up and up and up. It's really good. On that level, it's super, super tight. It is so sharp of a fucking
Yes.
game.
Yes. Yes. Like it. Someone said. I was watching speed runs about it. Someone said on the speed run, this is the hardest game that anyone can beat. They kind of designed it that way.
That's
Like,
a fair point.
yeah, no matter who you are, you probably can beat this game, within reason. Like, but
Yeah.
just what do you think about the story? Because I thought it was just beautiful and simplistic.
Yeah. I really liked I mean I think I had mentioned this before too, but definitely one of my favorite things that Celeste does is take the story it's trying to tell of like a girl with anxiety, with
Yeah.
these feelings of like self-doubt, with these feelings of not being able to accomplish what she
Mm-hmm.
wants to, or feeling like she always quits what she wants to do, and putting that, basically forcing the player to feel the same thing. And
Yeah.
it's kind of an interesting
Yes.
concept. There's games that do this kind of thing that I really respect when they do it, and obviously some of them do it in different degrees. But when a game forces the player to feel directly
Yeah.
what the people in the game feel, it's always a really I'm gonna say it's a bold decision to make, but it makes a powerful connection between like what you're doing and the game itself.
Yeah.
So like Papers, Please is kind of the one of the maybe
Okay.
the
Maybe
ultimate example.
I haven't played that one. Do you recommend I buy that one?
I do recommend Papers, Please.
Okay.
But to not this isn't a spoiler in any way, but Papers, Please is like kind of boring. And
Yeah.
it gets really monotonous. And you make mistakes because what the game is forcing you to do, because you're repeating the same things over and over again.
Yeah.
But that's the point. The game wants you to feel that way.
Supposed to feel that
It
way.
wants you to feel like you're constricted by the limitations they're giving you. It wants you to feel like you're not being able to pay attention because of how much information they're forcing you to keep track of. And that making that kind of resonance with the player, I think, is really, really powerful. And I'm sure you're familiar with like ludonarrative dissonance.
No.
As it's a like a phrase or a concept that's basically like this weird disconnect between a game, what a game tells you is happening, and what you're actually doing.
Oh, sure.
So like
Yeah.
imagine a game like Fallout 3 where they're like, okay, so you're towards the end of the game and you have to go save the world because they're about to poison the water supply, and then you're like, yeah, man, yeah. And then the cutscene ends, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna go
Yeah.
see if I can raid this Nuka-Cola factory.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go find a dog. And it breaks that sort of connection between like what the game's saying you're supposed to be feeling
Yes.
and what you're actually doing. And Celeste is really, really good at being like, that feeling that Madeline has of feeling like she can't succeed and feeling like she wants to quit is pretty quickly put onto the player by being like, yeah, this is really fucking difficult. It's really challenging. And then Battleline is the other character, the, I guess, antagonist, the embodiment of all of Madeline's feelings and self-doubts and
The
anxieties and
negative
sort of
emotions
her
that are part of
hatred
her.
of herself.
Yeah.
Yeah, the things that she dislikes about herself the most. And I think for me, one of the most powerful moments in that game, which I think there are a handful of,
Oh, there's a couple. Yeah,
um,
for sure.
yeah, the part where she finally kind of hits that breaking point, like towards the end, and she tumbles down the mountain, and you
Sure.
go past all the levels you did, and it's that real feeling of rock bottom, and that feeling that everyone has, like they were trying and they were almost there, and then something like the rug was swept from under them,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden they're like, well, how the fuck am I supposed to do all of that again?
It's a
And then she
perfect
gets to
narrative
the end
arc.
of that level.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly true. And she gets to the end of the level, and you have the other moment with Battleline where it's not so much that she's like, oh, well, I have anxiety or depression or whatever, and that's just the way it is. It's that she like accepts it, that it's a part of her.
Mm-hmm.
Not that like my anxiety gives me power, but she's like, I can't like
And
pretend
they played
that
around
this
with that.
doesn't exist.
She
Yeah,
rejects
and
it,
and that that
she, yeah.
idea of like, if I can acknowledge that that's a part of me,
Yep.
then I can keep moving forward even if it's there. And then you get to ascend the crazy platforming sequence from the very bottom of the mountain all the way back up past everything you've done, going straight to the summit. Is just so good. It's such a good sequence.
Yes. Yeah. And just everything builds on each other so nicely, and they bring everything back. They add on to mechanics, so you figure out more things as the game goes on. The characters come back. The characters are flawed in their own ways, and they all have their own little. The supporting characters have character arcs of their own, so everyone has growth.
Right.
And it's so simple that there's no room to screw it up. Like in these big huge games, I like you play Dragon Age or something, and like Dragon Age is actually a bad example because they do everything really great when it comes to the writing. But let's take Skyrim and stuff. Like the supporting characters feel empty. They feel like shells. They, it's a good game and all, and it's cool to have the societies in that game, and like the Brotherhood of Steel. No, that's a Fallout.
That's a Fallout.
Yeah, whatever. But like even that, like
what?
Right, like you're a part of a group, part of a gang, and they have a gang leader in Brotherhood of Steel and all these other games, but it just doesn't feel. I don't care anything about those characters, but I very much care about Theo. I very much care about the grandma. I very much care about Madeline and her journey. Like, why? This is a $20 indie game, a platformer that my girlfriend saw it when I first loaded up the game, and she was like, why are the graphics so bad? I'm like, no, this is retro. This is the cool thing now. Is like, it's not bad graphics. It's simplified, sure, but everyone just kind of accepts that as this is a totally acceptable, fine way to have art in the game. That the artwork was great. Like the right. It doesn't have to be super complicated. I
think for me, I'm kind of like, I don't care how good like the graphical fidelity or like the texture quality is in a game. What I care more about is like really tight art,
how it comes together,
direction. Yeah. So like a game like Breath of the Wild is not like the most graphically intensive game, and it doesn't have the best texture, but the art design and the art style are so powerful that those things don't matter, and you look at a screenshot and you know it's Breath of the Wild.
Super Mario
Whereas,
Sunshine's
like,
kind of
you can
like
look
that.
at a ton of other for sure. Sunshine has their design.
It's got a vibe to it. I just felt happy playing it. I just felt like I was on the beach. Just yeah.
I mean, Sunshine for sure. Sunshine is actually, that's a bop.
Yeah.
That whole game is a bop. The music, insane. The visuals, you just want to get like a margarita or something.
Yeah.
And just hang out.
Yeah.
And then Bowser Jr., like, I don't know, like teabags your girlfriend or something. And you're like, what the fuck? That's kind of rude.
Yeah.
And that's how it is. But
the art for Celeste was amazing. The backgrounds were good. Probably my favorite moment in that game. I think I told you about it over a text, because I was texting you when I beat it. I was like, dude, that game was awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for your suggestion.
You did text me, I don't know if I can beat it.
Yeah, I did say that. I was like, because this game is fucking hard, dude. I died 2,800 times.
Holy fuck.
Yeah,
I don't remember if that's high or not.
I did have some cathartic moments where I just ran into the wall, and I just did that like 14 times. I was like, die. And it was intentional.
That's fair.
And then they counted it, and I was like, I probably should be... Nah, I don't care.
That's fine, yeah. Okay.
But my single favorite moment in the game was probably when the part of me that comes out, and the anxiety part of it, like um, she chases her down into
Hmm.
like the end of the hotel. No, it's probably a little
Yeah.
bit later than that. I don't remember exactly where it was in the
Yeah,
game.
I think the hotel comes after, but
But
yeah.
the point of the scene was you're getting chased by a monster, and that was just kind of fun. And then you had to go and like it was almost like a boss fight, but it's still a platformer. It's just no, it didn't change mechanics on you. It's still the same thing
Right.
of jumping at the right times, and the music change from when the anxiety part of her goes from sort of sad and innocent to like angry and like a real big problem. What the music change was awesome. It kind of went to like a more like a little bit of tension into like a metal like oh shit, this is like a boss fight, and I just love those transitions. And
Yeah,
it's
the
really good.
music in that game is just so good. And like you're saying, the way they use the music in different
Yeah,
ways for the different parts of the game that need to convey different emotions, super powerful. Especially um with Battleline, because it's a really cool dynamic, not just being like she's the evil you, but it's like she's not only like again the manifestation of everything that you sort of internally carry around of anxiety and self-doubt, but like those moments where Battleline goes after Madeline or attacks her are literally moments
yeah,
that again
they're like
people can
panic
understand
attacks.
of like
Yeah,
putting yourself down, right,
yeah,
of feeling that sort of that self just sort of that attack on your own character. And so when Battleline's like, telling her she's useless and then literally chasing her down and like forcing her to hide from herself, like those are very
beautiful,
real things that people deal with. Yeah.
beautiful.
And they get to put it not only on screen, but put that panic and that anxiety directly into the player. That's different from just watching in a cutscene. You
Yeah,
have to exact it to. You feel the people creeping up on you.
yeah.
So really strong.
It's awesome that we come to a point in gaming where this is just totally accepted. I mean, we're just we're two dudes here talking about that played video games our entire lives. Do you think we'd be talking about mental health in video games as like a serious topic, like in a great game that we just played?
No.
Yeah,
I
it's
didn't make well no. Probably not. I guess growing up we were still talking about if Mortal Kombat is like satanic or
well,
something.
video games just didn't have that level of art. Like who? So what I say? Matt Thurston was his name. So whoever Matt
Yeah.
Thurston could have been spending his time doing over the course of years, he probably grew up playing video games or whatever. But why would he choose to have this creative outlet with this kind of writing or this kind of
Hmm.
just everything he put into this game to make it as real as he was? It would be a short film or a poem or a painting, but he chose a video game, and this was his
Yeah.
medium to express the story he wanted to tell. I think it's beautiful. I think it's awesome that first of
Hmm.
all he was able to do it, and second of all he chose this medium to do it, and then third of all he made it into like such a good mechanic level, the base fundamental of why you play video game. You're interacting with the medium and you're trying to get through it to unlock what happens next. And that was
Right.
I was I was pushed or pulled really more through this game because I had to see the ending. I had to beat it because I felt like I could, but because it just other games that are better games don't have that same pull, that narrative. Just I sat down and I can't remember the last time I beat any game in 3 days. Like I
Right.
just wanted to go for it. And man, what an experience! What a good great thing to what an awesome piece of content that I wish I could wipe it from my memory and just play it again. I wish I had that for only a few amount of games. There's some games where I'm like, no, that was good, but I'm
I
happy
definitely
about
have it for a handful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
I mean it's really cool. I always say that I think the reason that I enjoy indie games so much is because I played Shadow of the Colossus when I was so young.
sure,
And like that game to me was just like the complete game change. Being like, I have played Mario and I have played Spyro and I have
because you
played
got
Shrek
feelings all of a
2.
sudden. You were like, what are these? What's going on?
Yeah, but
Like,
it's not just feelings. It's like a game kind of undermining or totally
subverting.
shifting your subverting, right. I was trying to
We
think of
got
the
there.
exact word. Like totally subverting what your expectation of playing a video game is like
Yeah,
from playing something like Grand Theft Auto or something like Mario or something like Wind Waker. and then putting you through like a really somber experience, a
It's
really
beyond
short
just fun.
experience. Yeah, yeah, and it's Shadow of the Colossus is so, I mean, it's very poignant in like what it is and what it wants to be and what it sort of presents itself as. And playing a game like that, like you don't get a lot of games like that from AAA markets. Like sometimes there are games out there that I enjoy. Obviously, an absolute fuck ton. Breath of the Wild is one of my favorites, and Dark
Yeah.
Souls is one of my favorites. And even like the 2018 God of War was just
Oh,
like, I
really?
think that game was so fucking good. I
I've
think it
heard
was
that.
so good.
Yeah, I never played
But
it, but
even those games are not so focused as to like to make me feel what I felt when I played Shadow of the Colossus. I think Dark Souls probably comes the closest.
really,
But in indie games, I think have the space and the opportunity to do things like that without having to worry about how many hundreds of thousands of dollars are part of the project, or how many people are backing you, or who the publisher is.
keeping your
Like,
attention span or some bullshit like that. Like,
right? I mean,
yeah,
well, I mean, ju- just the ability to be like, I want to make a game that's 3 or 4 hours long, that tells a specific story, that makes people feel a specific way, and I don't even care if it's technically a game. I don't give a fuck. We're just putting it out there.
it's an
We
experience.
make
Yeah.
people feel right. It's just an experience.
Yep.
And I really like that. And I think again, we don't get that a lot in AAA games. And even though I find, definitely plenty of value in a lot of the AAA games out there, I think indie games offer a lot more of that.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's just cool to sit down and just play something different. I mean, I didn't cry playing a video game until I played indie games.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And that's a
um,
good thing because it's not like it's a sad experience and it makes you feel it's good to feel different things and actually it
yeah,
felt real. It's like when you listen to really good music, you get those just goosebumps, you get those like feelings, and that's what makes us humans like feel so alive. And
hmm
the fact that some artist went out there and made, and I'm gonna call it like this game designer, he's an artist. I mean, this is a beautiful work of art that he's had feelings like this and put it out there, and he's making you feel that. And that's
right.
through a game, through what we all joked about growing up, that like I was so worried. So I used to get worried when I would play games and they would have recommended ages on there, because I would get scared that if I got to the age, so like this game is recommended for 7 and under, like Spy Fox. Remember those games?
Yeah,
So Spy Fox had like it was recommended for 8-year-olds or under, or something like 10 or under. Once I was that age, if I was 11 playing that game, I'd be too old, and I would be very sad because I couldn't play these games anymore. And I was like, one day I'm gonna have to grow up and never be able to like play games, or like it's just
Spy
but
Fox or Putt Putt or Pajama Sam ever again, dude.
all that shit, dude. All that shit I played. Good memories. But I used to get sad because I couldn't play it. But the good part about this is where being a millennial, culture moves with you, and
hmm
the same people my age are now just designing their own games.
Right.
And
All the people growing up playing games, wanting these kinds of games, are now the ones making
and
the
also
games. Yeah.
the experience has not remained the same, immature. Like it is matured. It has like
Right.
you can be an adult playing this game going, wow, this is beyond, this is not something like, it's like saying music is for children. It's like, no, music's for everybody. Video games are for everybody. Like this is not a childish endeavor anymore, although it still
Yeah.
has that fun element for it because we're here to play games, we're here to have fun.
Right.
Yeah, it man,
And I think there's a lot of I think there's like different levels in which you can have those kind of experiences. So like obviously I think we all enjoy video games sometimes just a medium to have fun. Like I play, Mario and
yeah,
Warframe or whatever, and they're
most of the
just
time.
yeah, they're entertaining, and they just keep your attention, and there's something about them that's engaging enough to where you want to go back to them. For like multiplayer games, honestly, most of the time the competition, the competitive aspect is enough to draw people in. If the game's functional and it's tight and it's at least like semi compelling, people can have that want to just be better than someone else. That can be a really good sort of external motivation. Whereas like a game like Breath of the Wild or some kind of RPG where it's like,
Yeah.
oh well, the internal motivation of the game is to get like better gear or whatever, like a Call of Duty Warzone or a PUBG or whatever. Like, you're just motivated by wanting to be better than them. And then you have games that maybe try to give you some kind of deeper experience, like a BioShock, like a Last of Us, which
Yeah.
I know is a big one for a lot of people.
I played that one.
And
Yeah.
those are really good too. And obviously I'm not talking down to those games, because we're talking like some of the top of the top for, game experiences that a
Yeah.
person can even
They'll
have.
go down as classics. Yeah.
Right, for sure. But even those games, they are amazing and they're great and they're classics, and we will remember them forever, I'm sure. The same way that now people are still, I'm retro gamer, angry video game nerd, I love Sonic the Hedgehog. We're going to be talking about The Last of Us and BioShock 1 and whatever.
Sure.
But even those games, a lot of the things that are really good about them are like the story and the presentation, but they struggle at bridging the gap between the what makes a video game medium so powerful. Like,
Yes.
you're at some points in those games, you're just watching a movie, which is okay, because movies
Yeah.
are great forms of media too, and you can feel,
It's a missed opportunity,
emotions
though.
connected to other people. Right. And I think, and it's funny
And
because
Celeste
one of
did
the
not
most
miss that
popular
opportunity.
memes, exactly, that's kind of the point I'm getting at. One of the most popular memes on the internet makes fun of the exact thing I'm talking about,
Yeah.
the press F to pay respects
Yes.
from
Yeah.
Metal Gear Solid, where it's
No.
like,
That was from
what the fuck am I
Call of Duty.
doing? Is it not Metal Gear Solid? Metal Gear Solid 4, where he's like in the graveyard and he's saluting the coffin?
I could be
Either
wrong,
way,
dude, but I don't think
if
so.
you know, put it in the comment.
Yeah.
But it's irrelevant. The point is,
That seems like a Call of Duty move, though. Metal Gear has some.
it seems like something that they could do in Call of Duty.
I'm
sure.
pretty sure, but
the
yeah.
the point is that, just being like, press this key to pay respects is kind of like, it's almost like tone deaf
Yes.
at like what you could do in a video game.
It's so dumb.
So like, Celeste isn't like, oh, we're gonna show you how difficult something is in a cutscene. They're like, we're going to make you feel what you need to be feeling in this situation. And there's a lot of games like this. Is a kind of a weird one, because I don't think it's super enjoyable to everyone as a game. But if you ever have the opportunity to play Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, I think this game does one of the coolest, smartest, most unique things any game I've ever played has done to bridge that sort of gap I'm talking about between the game itself and the player, to sort of do what they're trying to do or tell the story they're trying to do. They do something really cool. But if I talk about what it is, it's
No.
a huge fucking spoiler.
Okay.
It's a full spoiler.
Right.
So I can't talk about it.
Don't do it.
If you know, you know. And if you haven't played the game, I highly recommend it just for this one thing. But there are games that do this really, really well. And it, I can't help but just have sort of a fondness for games that are able to do that. Yeah.
Great game.
It's a good game. It's a fucking good game.
Yeah. I recommend it for almost.
That was my favorite
anybody.
game of that year. Yeah.
Celeste, still talking about?
Yeah, Celeste was my favorite game that year, and that was the same year that God of War came. God of War.
I beat it in 12 hours. Is that a long time?
No, I think I beat it in
normal.
like 12-ish hours, 10 to 12 hours, something like
Yeah.
that. It seems normal. If you don't do any of the B or C sides or anything like that, yeah.
I was looking up some of the like extra stuff after that you could unlock, because I was not a super big strawberry collector. I was like, I just got to get through this game. I wanted to prove to myself that I could beat it, and I wanted to beat it as soon as possible. I just wanted to get to the end, and I just wanted to know about the story and everything. And looking up the speed runs and the tool assisted speed runs, and then what you have to do to unlock the epilogue, I was like, oh no, I would never get that organically. Like, I'm not.
Yeah, there's a lot there.
But good for them. Yeah,
it's something for people that want it.
Yeah. That's all I have to say about it. We had the topic which we sort of covered, mental health in games. Is there any other game that you can think of that sort of deals with mental health? There have been other ones out there, but I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is a big one that comes to mind. One of the immediate ones that I think of.
How does it talk about mental health, or how does it?
The main character has like dementia and some sort of schizophrenia, and she hears voices. So like the game is literally designed like they use like the ASMR microphones like
Okay.
the 360 audio, super high definition microphones, and the game literally plays voices. They tell you like you should, and if you ever play this game, you need to play it with headphones,
Yeah.
and you hear the voices in your head too, all at different volumes and different frequencies, and they spoke to people who work with people that have schizophrenia to make sure that it's like as detailed as possible.
Sure.
um and sometimes like it is so well woven into the game
Yeah.
that it's a part of the game too. So it's a third person action game,
One time I did
not too
something.
dissimilar.
I did something similar to
Go
that.
ahead.
I had a YouTube video of like what people with schizophrenia hear like, and they're like, you're
Hmm.
supposed to put on headphones and close your eyes, and like just hearing it, it was so creepy. It was so like
Yeah.
that could be.
Yeah.
It's like a whisper from the far back corner of your mind saying something that you almost sounds like something, but it's just I can.
Yeah.
There's an opportunity to put a game around that. It sounds like it's been done. So
Hellblade, it's like a third person action game, not too dissimilar from the God of War game that just came out, or came out the other year. And when you're fighting like the basically like demons or the monsters
Yeah.
in the game, the voices speak to this player and speak to Senua, and they'll say things like, yeah, she's not gonna make it, she can't do it, you think she can do it? And they'll like laugh. And then sometimes if you start, falling, or if you're taking too much damage, they'll be like, get up, and someone will be like, do you think she can get up? Be like, she can't get up, Senua, get up. And that sort of like dialogue continues throughout the entire game, including sections where like sometimes they will literally trick you. So a voice in your ear might say like, look out behind you, and then when you turn around there's nothing there.
yeah. Yeah.
And it's really interesting how they do it. But that back and forth of them being like supportive and then sometimes like working against you, and it's important to note that the game doesn't use that mechanic to just be like a gimmick.
Yeah.
To be like, wouldn't it be cool if you could hear like what it would be
If it
like to
did,
be
you probably
schizophrenic
wouldn't
in
have
a game?
stuck out in your mind, and you wouldn't have been able to remember it till now.
Right.
Like,
Well,
so,
I
yeah.
think especially too that can definitely come off as like kind of insensitive to
Mhm.
like use something like that as just like a gimmick or like a joke. Not really a joke, right? But as something that's not being taken seriously. But the game is about sort of Senwa's struggle with her mental illness and her relationship to like her father, who thought she was like a witch because she was sick and because she heard the voices in her head just like her mom, and her mom was like burned at the stake for it.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing has created a trauma where she has a very difficult sort of internal relationship between herself and these voices, because her entire life she's been told that she's like a monster for feeling this way. And the game, the story of the game is basically at some point she finds someone who she falls in love with, and that person gets killed. This isn't really a spoiler because it's this would be on the Netflix description.
Okay.
This person gets killed, and she wants to travel to Helheim to try to get that person, to try to get their soul. And it's just about her journey into literally the world of the undead,
Sure. Yeah.
to try to save this person she loves. And within that, sort of her own self-reflection about her fears of death and accepting death and accepting what's part of her, and the things that have happened and all that. It's really, really, that's another very, very powerful game for that subject.
Sure.
Because they don't treat it as like, oh, it's like a meme, get it, you can hear voices. Like, it's all part of telling that story.
You got to do
it
a
does
lot
it
of
really well.
You got to do so much navigating with gamers, because like it's mostly young immature men, mostly. That's what the
Yeah.
whole industry is built on. Of course anybody can play video games, but it's hard to make. What I like is that they're making more games. Like there's a whole adult market for people.
Mhm.
And like even Celeste to some extent, I'm not sure if it would be marketed towards kids, although I guess kids could definitely play. You could have some 12 or 13-year-old definitely playing this, and probably they would connect with it in a lot of ways. So, but the games you're describing like that, it seems like very mature themes, And
That one is
yeah,
very
and
very
they do it
very
artfully.
much so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
And it's Hellblade also has this thing they do, which it kind of got the devs into a little bit of controversy over whether or not it's okay to do this kind of thing. It's not like a huge deal. But at some point really early on in the game, Senua gets infected by something called the dark rot. And in game they tell you that every time you die, the dark rot is going to creep up her arm, and if it reaches the top of her head, she'll die, and her memories will be gone, and it will all be okay. And it basically insinuates that like if you die too many times, you're safe up. Essentially, is the message you get.
Yeah,
Um, and people don't think, or people don't know if that's like a real thing.
sure.
It doesn't seem like that's actually true.
Yeah,
Um,
there's a
and
lost
and
reality as the
there,
theme of the game. So what if
right,
this
that
actually? Yeah,
there are people that are like, well, it seems fucked up to just lie to the player, but not understanding what's real and what's fake, like
yep,
you're saying, is literally part of the game.
yep,
So I think it's really cool to like implement this another meta level to it,
yep.
where they're like, we will directly lie to you, and you will feel that anxiety for something that doesn't even exist.
Yeah,
Um, and I think it's really interesting.
yeah. That's awesome. Maybe I should play it. Would you recommend? Is it on Steam or?
Yes.
Okay.
It is on Steam.
Yeah.
I believe it's on Xbox as well, but it's definitely on Steam. And I think Xbox One S X series, whichever the new thing that's coming out is,
I,
they're
I
gonna have an exclusive Hellblade 2
I always feel
on
so
release.
bad for like spending money, but if my friends recommend that I buy a game, I love spending money to like support, especially during this weird time, but like support the game developers and just buying those games. And I think we talked about this a little bit
Yeah,
last week, but like if I spend a couple hours playing it, it's no big deal. And yeah.
I mean, you know, you don't feel compelled to pick up every game I mentioned because it's gonna be a long
No, I'm gonna
list.
ask. So like, let me ask you like, what should we tentatively plan on for next week? Do you like an indie game?
Man,
Do you have one good
fuck.
suggestion that I should play? Maybe Slay the
One
Spire.
suggestion.
You want to talk about that one in depth next week?
We can do that one. I know we were gonna talk about it last time, but we basically didn't talk about it at all.
Yeah, yeah. And
Slay
shouts
the
out
Spire
to
is a good one.
anybody who's watching this. Like, we want you to interact on our channels and
Yeah.
check out Steven's live stream and interact with us because that's how you build a good community. Like that, and
Yeah.
that's
Any
the benefit of.
recommendations or things that you want to mention in the comments? Go ahead. You know, if
And I would
you
take
got a
guests
game you
on
think we haven't
for
heard
this
of.
show. Like,
Oh, sure,
let's
sure, yeah,
yeah, come on and tell us about your favorite game or like, you know,
yeah,
uh,
absolutely. I guess
yeah.
just a one more short. I know it's we're kind of wrap it up, buddy.
No, no, no.
No, but the game that I was mentioning that I played earlier this week, Ita, the boss rush bullet hell shooter type thing. This is a game. I was reading an article about the person that developed it. And basically, this dude was a filmmaker, and he worked, you know, producing films and doing like special effects and stuff like that. And he was doing writing, and basically throughout that process, he felt more and more like he didn't know what he was doing or what he wanted to do, or that people even cared about him being parts of what he was doing.
Yeah,
And he sort of like slowly was slipping into a dark place in his personal life, and eventually spent time in a mental ward. And it's when he stayed there that he decided that he wanted to make a game based off of his experiences over the past couple of years. And so Ita, even though it's a again, it's a bullet hell type game, so done a ton of shit flying around on the screen, and you're this little girl with a ghost cat with a cannon and machine
yeah,
guns shooting at bosses. Um, the game plays a lot with like these concepts like guilt over what you've
yeah,
done. So like you'll fight a couple bosses, and it's instinctual for a player to walk into a room, be shown an enemy, take out their gun and kill them, and then maybe a couple moments later or half an hour later, you'll talk to someone who's talking about how they're looking for a friend of theirs that they haven't, and they describe them, and it's one of the bosses that you had killed earlier. And maybe your character talks about how it was really difficult to kill them at first, but then eventually now they're like, I don't even think about why I'm doing what I'm doing, or trying to like get used to this idea of like um being pulled along, and whether you do good things or bad things, like ultimately fate and destiny is just, you're just going to do whatever you're going to do. And people being like, I can't even be mad about what you're doing because you're just doing the thing that fate is going to tell you to do anyway, so why even feel mad about it? And
Yeah,
these
it's like a
kinds of
nihilistic.
concepts, yeah, and it's not necessarily like you should be agreeing or disagreeing, but presenting these things to think about and
Sure. Yep.
to push you against, and it's really fascinating. And this is another one um where a game like this, I think, is really rare, that even though it is very much a game, and it's kind of the same with Celeste, because I play a lot of games that are, walking simulators, or games that are literally like very abstract, very non-game like, no UI, no combat, no levels. You just kind of do a small experience that might as well be an interactive movie. Games like Celeste and games like Ita not only want to talk about these deeper concepts, but want to put them into a game that still feels like a game. And it's just really cool to be playing shit like it
I
just makes me
love
really
it.
happy to see people doing shit like
I
this.
love this medium that it's just not super explored by. I mean, video games have definitely penetrated the modern pop culture, but for
Yeah. Hmm.
it still feels like in a lot of ways they're kind of underground in the. I guess that like Celeste is like an indie game that's underground of the underground, and not that video games are the underground, but kind of by the nature of them, everybody sort of goes home and plays them at their own computer or PS4 or whatever it is. Like, it's not a go out with your family and watch a movie. You never see a family
Right.
like everyone get around and let's play this game. It's just not there yet. So it's kind of an isolated solo activity, but yet it still is such a good place where so many good, creative, artistic, phenomenal, talented people are putting their work and their efforts into making something that we can buy for $20 that is just an experience like no other. It's so
Yeah.
interactive, and
Yeah.
it's amazing what they can do. You can make it sad, you can make it happy, you can make it angry, you can make it vengeful, and you have so much more investment than you do with a movie. And movies are the pinnacle of our society, of our culture, of
Hmm.
transmitting emotions to people. And music, I guess, is there too, but that's kind of fractured among people.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, yeah, it's
That's definitely one of the things that makes gaming such a valuable space to tell stories or to make experiences. Is, film and music and writing are all things that we accept generally as like really strong forms of media and art. And in games, use all of those things and then add on top of it the interactivity of that one-to-one experience. I think it's oh god, I don't want to fuck it up. I'm pretty sure it's Will Wright, the dude who created The Sims, who
okay.
has like this famous quote from a talk that he gave where he said, like, paraphrase, he basically says that things that make video games unique are the emotions that you can feel, because no other medium makes you feel guilt or pride. And it's true, especially for guilt. Putting a player in a position where they feel responsible for
I can
something
see
that's
that.
happened is something where in film you can empathize or
Yeah,
sympathize with
yeah,
someone that's gone through that, but you don't feel the direct
because you're
effects of something you
you're
do.
not the person behind the screen doing the things,
Right.
and that's
So
that.
like
Yeah,
in
yeah,
BioShock, when they give you like the little sister and they're like, are you gonna
yes,
save her or are you going to turn her into Adam? Like that decision is directly tied to what you're doing. Um and media, other forms of media can't make that personal connection the same way that games.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I love it, dude.
It's good shit. It's
It's
good
good
shit.
shit. It's great shit. Yeah, I'm tired. Otherwise, I'd go longer.
No, you're good. You're
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
There's plenty to talk
There's
about,
plenty
so
to talk
doesn't
about.
all have to be today.
Dude, I'm looking forward to it. I'm glad we're doing this. I'm glad to talk about this. I spend less time playing video games and thinking about video games than I usually do. This week has been more so in quarantine, so I just get to like be at home all day. So, but I mean, just talking about this with you and me, hopefully anybody who listens to this also gets inspired and sees the same things that you and me like about it. I mean, they can tell by kind of the passion of what we're saying about it that this is a hobby of ours that I don't see it ever going away. Like,
yeah,
you know, it's and I hope that other people get the same enjoyment or find that in whatever way it is for them. People watching this like video games already, so yeah, it's such a positive, good thing, and they just keep coming out. Like, you can go back and play old games that still have that phenomenal. You know, you can go back and play Final Fantasy X if you've never played that. That game came out in 2002 or something.
Yep.
And
hey, now you can play half of them in like HD or remakes or remasters or whatever.
And then it's all going to come back around when they do VR. You're going to be playing as a character inside there. Yeah. Yeah. Which, by the way, I do almost want to like sink like $1,000, whatever it is, for the Oculus Rift and the Doom experience, whatever the good game is. Half-Life Alyx. I heard that was like it's worth spending on.
Yeah, Half-Life Alyx seems like it's like the VR game to sort of, you know, captain the rest
one that breaks them all,
VR into. Yeah.
Yeah.
If people actually want to make VR games, which we'll see. You know, it turns out Nintendo
did
did make good games for the Wii, but we did not get very many motion controlled games from other people, so we'll see.
Yeah. All right, dude. Any final
PlayStation VR. PlayStation VR, by the way, is cheaper. It's cheaper than Oculus.
Oh, really? Should I?
I don't know if you have a PlayStation.
Yeah, I got a PS4.
Look into it. You look into it, but I think PlayStation VR is like if you want to jump into it. If you don't, you think. Yeah, I don't know if you can play Alyx though.
I'm not a early adapter. I'll do it when it drops down to like a reasonable price.
Yeah, same. When you get the console on launch and it just has.
Yeah, they gotta make it easy for me. So.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Any final thoughts? We'll have links to your stream and everything, but people should check you out because you're such a good streamer. Like,
I post this. Well, I appreciate that. I do.
Yeah, you are.
Thanks. I post this on my channel too, obviously.
Yeah.
So if you want to give a shout out to your channel in case someone finds mine.
Yeah. So it's just my name, Kuhlman. If you type in Michael Kuhlman, I have Drafting to Win. If you type that in, if you type Kuhlman and Corey, with a C, Kuhlman. It's
sounds strange.
Watch my stuff or tell me what you hate about it, and I can. I mean, I don't know. Like, it's just a small channel. I just have fun making these videos. It doesn't matter if people are watching.
Hey, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
I literally had like a 2-hour long diatribe basically on stream yesterday about content creation and consistency and just putting stuff out there. So
you just got you have to create a sustainable model and keep doing whatever it is you like to do. And if it hits, it hits. But you shouldn't be doing it for the likes and the views and the necessarily. I mean, we all are, but it's not about that primarily. It's about I actually like this. I like talking about this, and yeah,
right,
yeah. All right,
alrighty.
That's all I got. Peace out, everybody.
Bye.